Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to How WEL Networks Revolutionized Asset and Inventory Management with SAP BTP, Mobility, and Fiori. I'm Heather Lima, and I'm a content producer here at ASUG. Today's webcast will be recorded, and you will receive a post-event email with a link to the on-demand recording, along with a link to the survey. Please take a moment to fill out that 2-question survey. We like to hear what you think about our webcasts here at ASUG. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in that Q&A box. We'll be getting to them at the end of the webcast. And if we don't answer all your questions while we're on the webcast, we will answer them offline. So now I'll hand off the webcast to our speakers, Chris Puddle, SAP Systems Manager with WEL Networks, and Alok Pant, CEO of Unvired. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Heather. Can you hear me clearly?
I can.
All right. All right. So good afternoon, everybody, or good evening if you're in Europe. We're really excited to present this case study here today. My name is Alok. I'm based in Houston, Texas, and we are very glad that today we are joined by our customer, Chris Puddle with WEL Networks. So Chris, I guess we can show our photos here, but if you can introduce yourself, please, that would be great.
Okay, good afternoon or good evening. It's good morning here for me. I'm Chris Puddle. I'm the SAP Systems Manager at WEL Networks. I've been with WEL for a big chunk of my career and looking after SAP since we implemented in 2011. So yeah, I'm very heavily involved in the technical side of SAP and working closely with Unvired for the solutions that they've helped us deliver.
Thanks, Chris. And, I, like Chris, I also have a very strong SAP ecosystem background for over 20 years. So, so I guess the discussions today will really reflect, I think, both our SAP backgrounds. So with that, let's take a quick look at the key takeaways. We thought that, we'll upfront share some of the messages that we think we want to leave with the audience, or the learnings, and can really deliver, or turbocharge business benefits when they work in tandem. The second key takeaway is we also want to discuss how SAP BTP makes it really easy to create applications, right? And why it's such a great technology platform foundation. And then the third takeaway is, we want to talk about user adoption, how that is so critical, that whole upfront user design and during UAT, the change management, all that is so essential for successful, a project, a digital initiative. And of course, there'll be other learnings, and we are happy to maybe discuss some other ideas also in the Q&A. So let me move along and share the agenda. So we'll give you a very quick overview of Unvired and WEL Networks to set things in context. Then Chris will share the digital vision that they have at WEL. Dive down a little bit deeper into the digital initiatives, right? That are that are basically being implemented as a part of the vision. And then before we start diving deep into the details of the solutions at WEL, we want to give an overview of SAP BTP to the audience so that we're all on the same page. There's a lot of innovation that SAP is bringing to SAP BTP almost on a monthly basis. So it's always good to catch up on the latest. We'll talk about the business benefits. And then we also, have a very interesting proof of concept offer. So to all attendees today, so if you have an app in mind, or an idea in mind, we're happy to work with you to build a rapid prototype or a POC to put that idea into action. And of course, we'll open it up for Q&A. So with that, let's talk about, tell you about Unvired a little bit. We are an SAP certified company headquartered in Houston, Texas, and have delivered over 200 plus, digital transformation projects. In terms of our solutions, one of our big focus areas, and that's why we are talking today, is building apps on SAP BTP. SAP BTP has about over 130 products, if you will. We focus on the app dev, the integration suite, and the analytics portion of that BTP stack. We have solutions on mobile asset management for plant maintenance, for inventory warehouse management, work permit, and then, of course, low-code application development. And we're also working on BTP for creating generative AI apps and outside BTP also. So, and we are an SAP partner, as I mentioned. A couple of our key differentiators are that we have, we customer delight is our value, and I'm so glad that Chris has joined us today. That's a testimony to our, of our happy reference customers, KPI that we have, and we are very flexible and responsive. So with that, just to give you an idea, we don't do everything. We are heavily in the industry verticals, chemicals, utilities, manufacturing, mining, and those. And so some of the customer names that we have there, very large global companies and all across the globe. So I'm going to request Chris to give us an overview of WEL Networks. Chris?
Okay. WEL Networks, we're a electricity lines distribution company based here in Hamilton, New Zealand. We only deal with the electricity lines distribution. We're not a transmission or retailer, so it's purely getting power to the end users. We're the fifth in New Zealand's terms. We're the fifth largest electricity company in New Zealand. We've got over 100,000 connections and over 7,000 kilometres of lines on the network. So yeah, we connect more than 100,000 residential properties, small businesses, and commercial industrial sites to the grid, basically. We also have a number of smart meters installed. Over 70,000 homes and businesses have a smart meter installed in their board. The smart meters are not there for the retail side of it, really. It's more around for us collecting data and managing our network. We've got a big capital spend over the next decade. Most electricity companies in New Zealand and across the world have. For us, it's a lot for us. It's 250 million New Zealand dollars that we will need to, or we have got planned to spend on the network over that time. So our digital vision is around streamlining our business processes, increasing our network reliability. So we were trying to move more from the reactive to a proactive maintenance model, enabling our mobile workforce anytime, anywhere. And this has been something that we've been working on with Unvired and so on for the last I think 9 years or so.
9 years.
8 to 9 years.
9
Yep.
years.
And then from there, of course, is to reduce our maintenance cost and reduce our asset costs, life cycle costs of our assets. So our initiatives for there are where we've partnered with Unvired for a number of them. Is mobile asset management rounds and work orders. We engaged Unvired to, and this is the first engagement, was to build an application that we can do our inspections. We were doing them on paper, so we wanted something to be able to do our inspections electronically in the field. Inventory management. So we actually run our own distribution warehouse internal. So we needed something that we can make it easy for the guys to start walking around our distribution centre to be able to receipt and pick goods. Asset condition monitoring, which is a new app that we'll talk about. This application is sort of like a replacement to the rounds and work orders. It's around going out there in the field every year and making sure that we check our network and record the condition of our network on a nice, easy to use application. Unvired have been working with us with workflow approvals around purchase orders and stuff like that. So our managers and executive, when they're out of the office, are able to approve purchase orders on their mobile phones. We're on ECC 6, so there wasn't really a product available for us at the time, and they were able to help us build a nice Fiori application to do that. So we're now looking at our intelligence, so looking at intelligence capabilities, AI as a POC. And part of the mobility platform is looking at the business technology platform with us and Fiori apps from there. And last but not least is the AI stuff. So we're doing a bit of exploration around generative AI from there. So BTP, so we have looked at BTP as our solution for our mobility. From there, we looked at a number of different alternatives, and we've gone with BTP. So the BTP, as you know, SAP's technology platform. Sorry, I'm just bringing up a slide so I can see what I'm talking about. So BTP, we've got the app development side of it. So we've got the build apps, build code, the app environment. So we're using the currently using the build apps and the build code functionality. So BAS. Automation. So you've got the standard SAP build process automation functionality. You've got the SAP integration suite from there. Data analytics. So SAP Analytics Cloud, SAP DataSphere, SAP HANA Cloud. And then you've got the AI functionality from there. So your standard pillars of technology in the BTP space.
So Chris, maybe if I can just add to the previous slide. Yeah. So I just want to add a couple of points on 2 or 3 of these pillars. On the app dev piece, because this comes up a lot, and SAP has actually been rolling out new features here. So just to clarify, so SAP Build Apps is SAP's no-code platform. You can drag and drop and build applications, right? So that's the SAP Build Apps. SAP Build Code is really I think that the next version of the Business Application Studio. So it's more geared towards the pro developers, but it also has a lot of low-code tools and also generative AI, assistant, Joule Copilot to help us build apps faster. So I think that's the 2 difference between the SAP Build Apps and the SAP Build Code. SAP Build Process Automation, sometimes customers are confused. That refers more to the workflow automation. It's form-based automation, and also RPA. So that's the robotic process automation. That's where the process automation piece comes in. And on the AI piece, SAP has got on the BTP, they have SAP AI Core and also the generative AI Hub, which is very interesting because what SAP is providing the LLMs like SAP, like Microsoft OpenAI on their platform so that SAP customers can secure these large language models more securely. So I just wanted to add those comments there. Chris, you can continue, I guess. Next slide.
Carry on. You might as well carry on with this one, Alec.
Okay, so you can maybe probably just open up. Okay, I'll just open up them. Yeah. So I think so. The question comes, why should we care about BTP? Or we really think as we work with customers, it's a great platform to introduce innovation, right, smartly to the enterprise. A couple of points here. I'm not going to go through all these. What are the 7, boxes here? One of them is the whole idea, and you must have heard it from SAP, idea of keep the code clean. So what SAP is saying is, and it makes a lot of sense, is as you migrate from ECC to S/4HANA, it is a great opportunity to build your apps, the extensions, on the cloud, on SAP BTP Cloud, so that you keep the code clean, so that when it's time to upgrade, it's seamless and it's much less costly to do your upgrades. So keep the code clean, build the apps that differentiate your business, build them on the cloud, and really keep the code clean. So that's one. And secondly, it's a great platform for integration. We believe the integration suite really makes it simpler to integrate than the PIPO versions of integration. And yes, the AI capabilities are there. So I think and SAP is adding more to it, right? Business AI, as they call it. So I think those are some of the key features that is really that is going to power or help enable innovation at enterprises with BTP. All right, I think we can go to the next slide. Okay, I guess Chris, now it's all yours.
Thank you.
So I think we have 3 case studies that we want to share with some more detail, and this is the first one on the asset management.
Okay, thanks for that, Alec. Okay, the first one is around mobile asset management. Like I said before, WEL Networks implemented SAP in 2011. We were using Maximo prior to that. And we didn't really have any sort of mobility sort of solution at the time. So a lot of our inspections were done very manual, written down on pieces of paper. We weren't recording the measurement points or the measurement documents in SAP really that well. They were just capturing it on screeds of paper, and they were just getting filed in the cupboard. Which was a bit of an issue if you're an asset management type person wanting to look at your condition analysis of your assets and your equipment. So one of the things that we wanted to look at was a solution that we could do this in the field electronically by the field guys from there. We ended up engaging Unvired to build us a solution, which allowed us to plan the work orders for the field guys. They can go out there and they can inspect all the equipment. They can record all the information, all the measurement documents, which go straight back into SAP. They can complete any audits. When a new piece of network has been built, an auditor can go out there and they can sign it off to say it complies with the company's requirements. And then we can also create any notifications in SAP for any defects that they find as they're going through there. So if they find a piece of equipment that's near the end of its life, or it needs some attention, they can do that as they go. And the end of the day is that we're trying to minimise the amount of paper that the field guys have. So the solution that we had was an application. It was originally custom built for us. I know Unvired have done a fair bit of work to enhance the application over the years. And they've also sort of used that core for their own application that they provide. So it integrates with ECC, ECC6 for us. We are able to generate a work order with all the functional locations, and it automatically picks up all the equipment and all the measurement points related. We can record all the inspection measurements. So in other words, create measurement documents. It creates the notifications to report the defects. So this is a very important thing for us, is that as the inspectors are out there in the field and they see something that's wrong, it might be a crossarm that's at the end of life, it might be a pole that's at the end of life or even damaged, they can actually raise a notification there and then, and it's sitting in the system ready to be actioned, planned and triaged accordingly. They can access the work orders that's been assigned to them. So these are preventative maintenance work orders. They can look up the material, equipment, or locations. So we actually, in our part of the woods, our coverage is not 100% coverage from a mobile coverage. So we have routers in our vehicles, but it does allow them, when they do have connection, that they can actually do a lookup and look up the material or the equipment that they need. We can plan a route with the interactive map. So while the data coming out of SAP is just a whole lot of data points, equipment, functional locations, we actually record as a characteristic against all the locations, the GPS coordinates, and then that's able to plot on the map where those locations actually are, so that the guys can bring up the map and be able to plan their route. So they can make the decision of where they go for the day and what they interact with. We can respond to our customer faults quickly. Again, this application also allows, it brings out the work order from SAP, but it comes from our network management system, which is where our trouble faults are recorded as a work order, and it gives all the information that's been recorded against that fault. So, you've got a power outage somewhere, or you've got a car versus pole. We have a lot in our network, so they can get that information directly to the field guys. And again, they've got the information on the device. They don't have to write it down on a piece of paper or anything like that. Allows them to work offline. So when they download the data, it's a connection at the time. They can go off into the network for the day. When they get back into coverage, especially when they go quite rural, they can then upload all their information they've collected. We chose Windows tablets for these devices. The reason for Windows tablets at the time was we are a Windows shop, and a lot of our applications at the time were Windows-based, and we didn't want the guys having multiple devices. So that sort of left out the Android or iPad devices. So the business benefits for us, the business benefits were huge. We had a connected process for all our field users. So, the guys who are doing the inspections, whether it be in a substation, whether it be out on the network or whatever, or doing the audits, or the faultmen who are out there in the middle of the night dealing with a power outage or a power fault, they had all the information that they needed to do their job, and they're able to collect the information, record it, and send it back to SAP as a series of data points. I think that's probably the biggest business benefit for us. When we actually implemented this functionality, we were live in 2011. I think it was about 2015, 2016 when we went live with this application. So we had 4 to 5 years of data collected on pieces of paper. We actually ended up having to work through and well, actually, it was on pieces of paper, and it was also on Excel spreadsheets. So we had to work through converting all that data into measurement documents. Luckily, SAP allowed us to collect that on spreadsheets and then upload that using LSMWs to create the measurement documents. But it was quite a lot of information we had to put into the system if we wanted to get some historical information in the system. It gives us a bit of an increased daily work capacity. So the guys got to the stages where they didn't have to come into the office in the morning to get their jobs. They could basically, 7:30 in the morning, they could leave home, jump in their vehicle. They've got the information they need. They can go off and do the inspections. And at the end of the day, when their inspections had been finished, they could send the completed information through. They can then come and ring up and say, oh, I'm ready for my next work order, and then that can be assigned to them, and they can download that, and away they went. So from that perspective, they didn't have to wander all the way back. And if they were, in New Zealand's terms, it's far enough away, but in America's terms, it's probably just around the corner. They could be half an hour away from the office, and they didn't have to drive all the way back into the office to go pick up another folder with their next job. So I think that's a big one. They sort of only turned up at the office sort of once or twice a week, basically to put their timesheets in, which was still paper-based and still is at the moment. And again, the reduced operational cost and enhanced compliance. Operational cost, the amount of dead time for people running around trying to get the next day's work, and the enhanced compliance. As an asset management company, we're not having to have a compliance risk of not knowing the condition of our equipment out in the field from there. So that's the mobile asset management perspective. And what does it look like? It looks a bit like this. This is an inspection. So we would have a map here. This is
Chris, can you move
Oh, sorry.
The slide, we don't see that. Thanks.
I'm using the other slide so I can on a bigger screen. Apologies. This is the map here. So we have on the left-hand side the map of where all the poles and that are down the road. Obviously the guys would zoom out, but they can see where they actually are and where the next pole is. And it's been a while since I've played with this application, but I'm 90% sure that it's linked to the GPS on the device, and it will actually sort of indicate where they actually are at the same time. So if they got lost, they could find their way. And then when they click on the in this particular case a pole, it will actually show us the details, the equipment, the functional locations, all that sort of stuff, and then all the measurement points that we want them to enter. So they would go through there. They would be able to enter the measurement document readings. They'd be able to enter some comments if they're comments. They're able to click if it's not required. So one of the ones that the inspectors wanted is they didn't want to. Sometimes you have measurement points that are there for a particular reason. It might be a 5-yearly particular measurement that you do. For example, a transformer, it might be a DGA analysis, and you wouldn't do that every time you go out there every year or every 2 years you inspect the transformer. It might be a 5-yearly thing. So there's an option there to say it's not required, and that would mean that they can upload the measurement documents without any errors. We did actually have it that if you didn't enter a measurement value, and it would actually say you've missed something. You need to go back and check it. We also did a change on this. One of the things that the field guys wanted is to know what somebody did last time when they looked at it. And from there, they sort of felt that they wanted to know whether it's degrading or whether it's any better. So for WEL, we use a grading from 0 to 5, 5 being basically brand new, 0 being failed. We don't normally use a 0 because if it's failed, we would then raise an emergency work order to go and replace it. It normally means that it's on the ground or it's dead. From an asset management perspective, they're looking at anything that's from a 2 to 3 as part of their asset replacement process throughout the year.
So, Chris, let me do a time check. Maybe we can move to the inventory management app.
Yeah, not a problem.
Unless you want to point something out, of course, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, that looks like that slide's been... From a fault perspective, we would also have basically the details of the work order. This is not a fault work order, but we would have all the details of the call, the notes, any information around that would come through from the field guys as well. So the next case is the inventory management. Okay, we don't use the standard SAP functionality for issuing material. So when a work order has been designed and set up, the reservations create obviously reservations or requirements on the store. So we were using a custom program called ZPick, which creates its own pick list of the work order. And basically, behind the scenes, it just uses MyGo to create the material documents and the issues. But we needed a tool to be able to for the distribution center guys to be able to process those pick lists and other bits of functionality around receipting. As goods comes into the store, as inventory cycle counts that they do, all that sort of functionality. So we engaged Unvired to build an application. So it was a custom Fiori application. It was actually replacing an app that we'd had built many years ago, built on the BSP pages. So we wanted something that was nice and modern in Fiori. So we asked Unvired to rebuild the application in this Fiori apps. So we wanted to build an app that's to do with goods receipts. So when stock arrives at the warehouse, they can go through, check it, receipt it. To do goods issues, whether it be through a reservation or ad hoc. So ad hoc would be normally a breakdown in the middle of the night. Urgently, we need some gear because we've got a breakdown. To do stock counts, so your inventory cycle counts, your stock checks. If they're not sure, they can actually do a lookup and with the tool or tell them what SAP says is in stock. And I think from memory, it tells them also what's actually on order. And then also to do a confirmation of the pickup. So when the field guys come into the store and they take away the goods, we actually record on a confirmation slip that Joe Bloggs has come and picked up those goods. So the business benefits from there is that we've got an improved accuracy of the inventory levels. So being able to do stuff rather than, again, trying to minimise the amount of paper that's printed out and handled around. We get the improved accuracy of inventory levels. Reduce stockouts from if we forget to enter ad hoc issues, we can end up with some issues with being out of stock. Reduce carrying costs. We're improving our order fulfillment times. So again, it's just making things a bit more efficient in the store, and from that aspect there. So what does the app look like? So these are the tiles that we have. So it's a big tile group that we have created. So we can do a goods receipt against the purchase order. We can do a goods issue from a reservation. So this is actually a pick list. So we would run this custom transaction called ZPick. It would create the pick list. The stores person would then come along and pull up that pick list, and then they would be able to go around the warehouse and actually pick the goods and tick it off as they do it. They can do an ad hoc goods issue. So when we have got a breakdown, they can actually walk around as it's a bit like a shopping cart. They can go around and they can actually pick the stuff and record it ad hoc as they go. They can do a goods return ad hoc. So quite often, especially on a fault breakdown situation, they will go and grab the gear they think they need, and then when they get there, they may find out that they didn't actually need that gear. So when they come back, they can actually put it back into stock and reverse the issues. Cycle counts. We create an inventory cycle count, and then the distribution centre staff will go out there and they would complete the counts in there. Previously, we were doing that on paper. We're actually now able to do that electronically. And then the clerks in the back office, they can actually go through and they can tick off the inventory counts as they go. We can do a stock check, and then we've got the pickup confirmation tool as well. The key about all this is it's all Fiori, and it all sits on a iPad. So the staff have iPads in the DC, and they can go around and they can do it all there without having to go back to their desk and use a desktop. So this is what the app looks like. This is the goods issue application from a pick list. So can
you move your screen, I guess?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I've got it on another screen, so in bigger view. Apologies. So we've got the work orders to the side there. They can actually enter in the work order number to do a search, and they can also select the pick list. So you can have multiple pick lists for a work order. When you generate the pick list, you actually select the reservations you want to include, whether it be at the operation level or something like that. our line staff and that like to sort of not sort of pick all the material for a work order. They like to go along and select what they actually need for the day. So that allows them to do that and allows them to select it. So it gives them a lot of information in the store. So not only does it tell them whereabouts in the store it is, like what the bin number is, also tells them what's on hand. So when they're going along and they're picking up a piece of material, so the first one we've got a 10mm bolt, and it tells us that we've got 126 in stock, and they only require 2 to pick. And then if it was the other way around, they would know that they'd have a stock out. So when they go to the bin, they would theoretically have enough to pick, and that would help them identify if they've got some issues from there. So that's the inventory management functionality. So this has been a bit of a game changer for the distribution centre staff. They love the app. We've done a lot of customisation and enhancements over the last since we built the app to sort of clean it up and tidy it up and make it more efficient, especially around the materials to do with batches. So we batch manage our cable on drums as well as other items, and it also works really well for picking up serialized equipment. So our transformers and switchgear are serialized in the store, and it helps them from that as well. So that's that one there. Okay, so we'll move on to the last case study. So this is the big one. Probably try and spend a bit more time on this one. This is the asset condition monitoring application that we built, and this is the BTP app. So the challenges that we had is that we had a little bit of a limited, so that the application this is basically replaced the rounds and inspection app. So we had a limited visibility into the condition on the asset conditions from there, and we had a few manual processes as well and data inaccuracies. And when I'll talk about that there, the manual processes is around scoping. So the application was originally called Scoping and Inspections. So it was around when the field guys go out there to inspect something, they create a notification, somebody else has to go out there and scope it. We take a lot of photos, and that's one of the things that both of these applications has done is we collect a lot of photographic evidence of what's out there in the field, but we still needed a designer to go out to the field and sort of check what's needed to design the work order for the replacement of that particular asset. So what we did is we scoped an application, which was actually one of the other business challenges I haven't put in there, I will actually highlight, is that we had a business challenge where the inspectors were working in a fair bit of isolation. So they were based on a work order that was assigned to them in an area for their area they were inspecting. And so we might have 3 or 4 inspectors out in the field. Inspector 1 didn't know what Inspector 2 was up to and what was there. Inspector 3 didn't know what Inspector 1 and 2 were doing, and so on. And sometimes there may be a reason why they couldn't go from, say, their home base area, say Hamilton City, up north to go and do an inspection. And then they sort of didn't have anything in their device to do the inspections. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to build an application from a big input from the business where they wanted basically a map of the whole network and everything that needs to be inspected for that financial year. And then the inspectors can then say, well, I'm going to go into this region for the day and I'll inspect everything in that region. And the inspectors can see what's been inspected. The other inspectors can see what's been inspected, and then they can sort of work together as a team to get all the inspections done. So the solution that we came up with was a BTP-based inspection application. It's offline and online. So we've got an iPad version, which is built on the SAP SDK, iOS SDK, and it's also, we've got an online browser-based version, which is basically a Fiori app. We can then select, depending on whether you've been told to go and do pole inspections, or whether you've been told to go to do transformer inspections or ring main inspections. We can have, the guys can filter that to say, I just want to see all the poles, or I just want to see all the ring mains. We do the inspections by fiscal year, asset type, users. So we've got reports and behind the scenes as well. We can create notifications with attachments. Again, the big key one for us is notifications, but we can also do a lot more information scoping about what needs to be replaced and stuff like that. It's using the SAP Business Application Studio in BTP, mobile data services, the mobile development kit, and the SAP Cloud Connector for the connection back to our on-prem systems. The benefits, huge benefits for us. We've got a lot more improved asset visibility, both from the maintenance team in the office, as well as the actual inspectors out in the field who are doing the inspections. We've got a reduced cost of assets. Again, it comes down to being a lot more efficient in doing our inspections and from that aspect. Increased productivity and our maintenance costs, we can reduce those costs as well. So the architecture on this one here is basically we've got the BTP platform in the Australia Sydney AWS data center. The device is connecting to that mobile services, and then we've got an OData request through the cloud connector on our on-premise data center. So our SAP systems are on-premise at the moment. And so it's very, very simple architecture and quite reliable, actually, to be fair. So this is the dashboard. So the dashboard gives the maintenance planners a lot of information about what's been inspected, who's inspected it, how much is to be completed, what's been scoped or what hasn't been scoped, whether we've got any errors. Label errors are where labels are missing off the equipment in the field that we need to go back and revisit and reattach a label. I don't know about other countries, but we have a high rate of people stealing aluminium and copper off our poles. Even though the little aluminium labels are a few grams, they go along and they'll steal heaps of them. We can do a summary by object type, so from poles, pillars, ring mains, switchgear, transformers, and so on. And then the summary by the users themselves. So it looks like Praveen's been really busy at doing inspections, but what it's actually telling us is that what sort of inspections that person's been doing and where they're up to from there. So this dashboard also has data behind there, so they can actually go behind it and actually look at all the individual inspections. They can download the data if they want to bring it into Excel for analysis. We also do bring this across into our SAP BW environment, so we can do dashboard reports, to see where the business is up to and how we've inspected everything. And it's all by fiscal year, so every fiscal year we will actually, the application will sort of effectively reset, and then all the new functional locations that have been assigned for the inspections will be shown automatically from that perspective. So this is what it looks like. It's based on an Esri map that we have assigned to this, and so the users can go through. They can scroll in. It's also it'll show them where they are. They can actually filter it down to just show me all the equipment that's within a 10K radius from where I am. And they can go into and they can click on them. It'll show them very interactively. I think the black dots are saying it's been inspected. The white dots are saying they're to be inspected. So they can see straight away where they are and what's been done. The different colors refer to the different classes or the different types of equipment, blue being poles from memory, yellow being transformers, I think. I can't remember the colours, but but from an inspector's point of view, if they are dealing with poles, they know straight away what they're looking at in the poles. From there, we don't do a lot of cross inspection. So if you're doing pole inspections, you're doing pole inspections. You wouldn't look at the transformers or pillars or ring mains or whatever in that area.
All right, Chris. I think we want to keep some time for questions, so maybe we can move on. The next slide, please.
So that's the inspection itself. I won't go into there. So it's quite interactive. Okay, I'll leave these last 3 slides for you,
Okay,
Alec.
I moved the slide here. Oh, okay. You were all right. I think we were not looking at. Okay, all right. Yeah. So I think maybe I'll take a couple of minutes, then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So we want to talk about how, from our experience, we find BTP simplifying app dev. So there's a lot of low code, no code tools available within BTP. It has with the SDKs for iOS and Android. It's easy to build the offline capability that Chris had reference to. The integration suite certainly is an improvement upon PIPO to integrate with third-party systems, and of course it has so many other features also. But so, and that was we were talking in terms of the framework, right? That whole thing, a very good IDE, so you can develop your apps and also deploy your apps in a runtime environment, right? Like Cloud Foundry, and then also the whole AI pieces that have now come into BTP. Whether it's using the Joule Copilot, as SAP calls it, right, to assist you, in using those applications, like in SuccessFactors, or even creating new applications, right? It can generate code for you. It can help you build JavaScript, Java applications. So using semantically enriched data, right? That whole notion of business AI that SAP is differentiating itself on. So we find all that is pretty useful. And in terms of, I think you already talked, Chris, about the business benefits, but we just wanted to put one summary slide here. And I don't think we need to talk too much about it, but as you can see, Chris had mentioned about the user experience, data quality, reduced costs. So, and we can certainly discuss any questions that come up. So what are the lessons learned? So I think it all begins with the user and ends with the user. I think most of us get that. So that's a key lesson learned, and it was only reinforced. Technology foundation, yes. And I think, Chris, you can talk more about it, but BTP is a great foundation to really build your new apps and integrate and extend your apps. And also, I think, Chris, maybe you can spend a minute on the enhance or build, right? And how that decision to do the ACM led you to this BTP journey, right? So go ahead.
So when we had this requirement to build the application, at the time, it became quite a rushed process for us. It was sort of left to the last minute. We need it in 2 months' time. We actually did look at the SAP Asset Manager at the time, about 3 years ago. The SAP Asset Manager wasn't really at that level that we could use, and it would have taken a fair bit of time to implement and configure and set up and going. So there was a lot of discussions around that there. Asset Manager has come a long way in the last sort of couple of years, but at the time it wasn't at that level that we needed, and that's why we ended up going to Unvired and coming up with the solution and using the development for that custom application. If we were to revisit this again, we would go through the same requirements and the same investigation. Whether we'd end up with the same outcome, that would be something that I wouldn't know the answer to at this stage.
All right, and I think that brings us to the last slide. So just want to again reiterate the special proof of concept or prototype offer we have. If you have an idea in mind, you want to build on BTP, let us know. My email is there, phone number is there. I'm in Houston, Texas. So with that, let's open it up for questions and answers. Heather, can you open it up or? or the Q&A,
Hi,
right?
Alok. Yeah, sure. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and enter them in that Q&A box. And in the meantime, we have a question here. I think I'm asking this correctly to the person who asked it. Let me know if I'm not. The question is, why is building custom code mobile apps by using BTP better than implementing SAP Service and Asset Management?
I think it's a Chris question at that time. And Chris, maybe you can share what the deficiencies were at that time in SAP Asset. The new name is SAP Asset and Service Manager, the same app, Chris. So can you maybe shed some light on it?
Yeah, so I mentioned that before. So SAP, when we had the business requirement, we actually looked at the SAP Service and Asset Manager. It was reasonably new out onto the market from SAP. It wasn't really at the level it is at now, and I've seen Asset Manager in the last 6 to 8 months, and it is a really super flash little application now. Back then it wasn't, and it had a lot of deficiencies of what the business wanted. The SAP out of the box tool wouldn't do what they wanted it to do. So we actually decided to go down that custom route. Now, custom route would always be something that you would do as a last resort, really. You wouldn't want to try and build custom apps all the time, but it was mainly because we had that deficiency at the time from the business requirements. And for this particular application, as I mentioned before, I don't know whether we would actually go down the same route. We probably would from that.
And I guess if you do need to build a custom app, then you might as well build it on SAP BTP. So okay, that's my 2 cents also. All right. Thank you, Chris, for that. Any other questions, Heather?
Yes. So they're asking how many trades are there using these mobile apps?
So probably 3 or 4 trades. They're based from our line staff who are out there doing the overhead line inspections, to our electrical fitters who are doing like the substation and the transformers and stuff like that. Our fault staff. Yeah, so there's about 3 or 4 different trades across the business, even down to our civil workers who are going out there and basically mowing the lawns and cleaning up the yards and all that sort of stuff in our sites.
Great, thank you. And so if those are all the questions we have for now, unless somebody wants to throw a question in at the last minute.
Heather, maybe I can just add one point here while somebody wait for another question. So coming back to, I think, one of the earlier questions about SAP Asset Manager, I just wanted to mention that initially, I think Chris also alluded to it, Unvired also has a standard mobile app for asset management of a plant maintenance. And some of our customers have implemented the standard app, but at the same time, sometimes the requirements are so custom that you have to build a app for yourself. But we also have a standard app for plant maintenance. If anybody is interested, we would love to talk to you about that, which is similar to SAP Asset and Service Manager. All right, any other questions? I think we have maybe 5 minutes left.
That is it. So if you guys have any words of wisdom, last little nuggets to give us, we'd love to hear them.
I know I'm not wise, but Chris is. So Chris, do you have any words of wisdom?
I don't really. I think if we were to repeat this again, I think we probably would have gone down a very, very similar journey. I think sometimes the decisions that you make around your device selections at the time was quite sound. It sometimes can be something you have to be very, very careful of. I think you've got to bring the users on board too. I think the big key thing is with any project like that, you have to bring your users on board. We were quite fortunate that we did. Our users were quite focused on this. They sort of came along in that journey. So and you get some key users that will help you. They will help you all the way through testing and enhancements and tweaks and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, great. And so I just want to remind the audience of one more time of the proof of concept rapid prototyping offer we have. So please reach out to me if you want to discuss and brainstorm any ideas and how we can quickly help you build that, the first iteration. Also, I would like to thank Chris for joining us today and giving us his valuable time and sharing his lessons learned and the whole experience, that whole digital journey of 9 years. So Chris, thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful and appreciative. So thank you. And Heather, thank you for hosting and promoting this webcast so people could attend today. So thank you to you too.
Of course, and thank you both for such a great webcast. Since there aren't any more questions, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you everybody for joining us today. And you will receive a post-event email with a link to the online presentation of this. This will be on demand for the next 30 days. And please go ahead and share it. If you thought it was valuable, share it with your colleagues. And please take a moment to fill out that 2-question survey. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.